Live. Okay, thank you very much, Yalda, for joining me. My name is Giulio Prisco. I'm helping in the organization of the Terasem event on July 20th. I'm here with Yalda Mussavini, who is going to say things in Second Life about space and some new things called Space Cooperative. And I'm not going to ask Yalda to explain all that now, because I don't want you guys to miss her explanation in Second Life on July 20. So just in a nutshell, Yalda, in 5 seconds or maybe 10, okay, make it 1 or a couple of minutes. If you can tell us who you are and what is Space Coop, why it is so important, why people should be interested in it, and how it relates to the topics to be discussed at the Terasem event on July 20th.
Yeah, so I'm one of the co-founders of Space Cooperative, and we came together over a common vision of, cooperation and collaboration, so humans can work together to, advance society here on Earth, and also to expand beyond, because we believe that's just the, next evolutionary step for humanity. So as far as how that relates to geoethical nanotechnology, that is a lot about, climate change and the Earth and stewardship for Mother Earth. And so we always say for Space Cooperative, Earth is in space too. We're not just about space colonization or being spacefaring, but also yes, maintaining our home planet, but ensuring that we are taking the necessary steps to advance as a civilization too, because we believe that the demonstration of leaving our solar system relates to how knowledgeable we are as a species, of course, right? So shouldn't we want to keep advancing our knowledge so we can keep advancing to the next stage as far as the breakthroughs that we need to make for energy? So that it all ties to energy, and that ties to climate change ultimately. So it's all interconnected.
Well, you really sound like Carl Sagan, and that's quite common for the people of my generation. For us who watched Neil Armstrong walking on the moon on July 20, 1969, we remained in space for life. That's what happened. And it's quite good to see that also a millennial, much younger than me. I mean, you do look like a millennial. Sure you are. What played for you the role that watching the first moon landing played for us?
For me, since watching the moon landing, that wasn't something that happened when I was alive. For me, space actually, it came into my sphere of influence more through it's like science fiction, like.
For example, what?
The film 2001: A Space Odyssey. That's just one of the most inspirational things, because how it ties to this unknown object and how that caused evolution. So I thought that was always an interesting concept to think about, like, oh, what is human nature anyway? And just starting to really think about the origination of intelligent life, and well, what if it is due to some alien technology? So just like starting to question things like that made me start to like wonder, well, why we need to explore more. We need to experience, the Stargate. I don't know. It just all seems so fascinating. So, so that was definitely the entry point for me.
Yeah, the film came out just a few months before the actual moon landing.
Yeah.
I remember I wanted to watch it with my mom, and she told me then that I kept asking things and things and things for days. Just thinking about the film, I didn't think about nothing else. Seeing it for real a few months later was great, but of course at that time I and everyone else thought that in the real 2001 we would have something similar with at least a little base on the moon. Instead, well, what happened, what we got in 2001 was September 11. That I think was a big shock for our culture, and we forgot for some years about big ideas that we had for decades before. Do you think that could change? That people could start dreaming big, thinking big, and doing big again?
Yeah, I definitely think that can change, and I guess that's also why we formed Space Cooperative. We think that the problem isn't that people aren't dreaming big or that they don't have big ideas, but it's because there's no way to actually take action and come together on these visions, beyond a Facebook group, or it's like, how do you take it to the next level so it's not just a wall, but something that actually leads to a space mission? So I think that's been the problem, is like the technological or the communication barriers, and we've finally reached a level where we're leading towards a global freelancer type world. So just naturally that will lead to having a distributed way of accomplishing science and engineering feats. So definitely war has put our species behind, as that's what humanity has chosen to focus their primary technology advancement on, at least in the USA. But I think that there are a lot of people that are interested in more peaceful applications of technology. So
let's make an example. Let's suppose a young girl in the middle of nowhere, for example, in the mountains of Mexico, or a young boy in Thailand, Africa, these people who so far haven't really had the opportunity to participate in these things. Suppose they fall in love with space, like we are. And suppose they want to do something for space. They want to participate into a real space project, perhaps even doing some little thing, but doing something. What should they do, and how can something like Space Cooperative help them?
I think as an entry point for someone that wouldn't necessarily have an engineering background that's interested in space, the first thing they can do is start to write about it. I mean, you read about it, they write about it. They could help a mission as far as creating the technical documentation. Because like as a product manager myself, I work with a lot of software engineers, and while I don't know how to engineer the code, I know how to describe software, and that wasn't something that I went to school to study how to describe how to build software. So I think that's something that you can learn without actually going to get an educational background in aerospace engineering, as you just like meet aerospace engineers or space systems, space engineers, other types of engineers. You learn from them, you learn from what they're doing, and they always need help with documentation, or they always need someone that can help connect the dots. And I think a lot of creative types, it's really it really can be just about absorbing the knowledge that is around you, helping maintain the knowledge databases, and then you learn through that experience what it is you actually want to eventually focus your career on. It may just be, oh, I love documenting knowledge and describing the whole systems flow, or they may realize they really want to do like communication subsystem engineering. But I think the best entry point would just be starting to learn, of course, using the resources that are online, and then that can either lead to hands-on experience, going to an aerospace program, and then doing a balance of the space projects online learning, and education.
My impression is that something like Space Cooperative can solve what I think is an important problem, which is the fact that you can do a lot with volunteer work, but at some point it becomes unsustainable because people, and especially the best volunteers, need to earn a living somehow. So that, the thing is all fine and good, but at some point I'll have to switch to something that I can make money with. I have the impression that something like working at a community project in a cooperative framework, especially for people who live, for example, in places where the cost of living is not that high, is a way to keep people working on projects by giving them the opportunity, maybe not to earn 100% of their living, but at least to earn part of their living, as to enable them to stay on the project. What do you think of that? Is that something that you envision, to give people everywhere the opportunity to work on a space project, not only as volunteers, but also as paid freelancers?
Yes, definitely. You need to pay people to sustain. Unless we reach a universal basic income, then people might just volunteer and be able to without needing money for it. But definitely, a component of the platform is the crowdfunding of missions. That's not an initial feature that we're going to have, but basically, once a mission is designed, planned, vetted, then it reaches the funding stage. And then after it's funded, that means that contracts can be sent out within the community, or to partner organizations for bidding out there, and that's when the people can actually start to get the real paid experience. And I think it's important to give opportunities to people that might not have the best resumes or the aerospace degrees. It's like you have to budget for the people that aren't as experienced, the people that want to learn. So in that realm, it's not just like a standard aerospace corporation, but one that has social purpose built into it, as far as giving opportunities to people that might not have them elsewhere in the world. Whether it's because there's really no aerospace companies where they live, there's no space program where they live, or there just are not enough, not enough paid work for that type of job.
What could be the role of 3D printing technology in that?
Oh, that's definitely has to be built into the roadmap, as far as having as much like automated manufacturing, whether it's on Earth or in space, for us to reduce the costs and be distributed. 3D printers will solve that, because you reduce the type of people that you need in an actual manufacturing plant, and a lot of it can, it becomes even more distributed, where the people can design the machinery in their home, and then you have connected labs to the infrastructure, and then it gets printed there, and then there will be technicians on site that assemble the different parts. But obviously, as we move towards the future, the amount of people that have to be assembling the parts will be reduced, and that's on Earth and also in space. So that's definitely something that's exponential technology, right?
Okay, let's not steal the show, because you're supposed to say all these things at the talk in Second Life.
Yes.
Wait, what is the name of your Second Life avatar?
Stella Mag.
Stella Mag.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, because usually I'm Stellar Magnet, but that was taken, so I did Stella Mag.
That sounds good. Is it the first time you give a talk in a virtual world?
Yeah, it is.
That's great. Now, for the viewers, well, I want to say something about virtual worlds. The thing is that we have been having this annual Terasem workshop. There are 2 Terasem workshops. One every year on July 20 to commemorate the first moon landing, and the other in December. We have been doing that for almost a decade now. The thing is that 10 years ago, Second Life was very popular. You don't remember that, do you?
No. Well, I remember hearing of it. I never used it back then, but I definitely, yeah, I remember hearing about it a lot.
Yeah, you opened the Business Week or Time magazine and found things like, this is the future of the internet, the future of business, the future of mass communication, and all that. That's what we thought. Things didn't really happen that way. Not really. And there are many reasons for that. We could discuss for hours the reason why at the end virtual worlds did not have the mass success and the mass appeal that we thought would happen 10 years ago. We're not going to discuss all these reasons. I just want to mention 2. One is that last generation virtual worlds like Second Life are not immersive enough. And the other is that they are too difficult to use for most users. The thing is that you have to remember so many keyboard shortcuts and mouse things. It can be complicated. Too complex for mass adoption, not like Facebook. In Facebook, you don't have to learn anything. You just start using it. And that should be the goal of virtual reality research, is to make something so that you start using it without having to read the manual, as natural as walking. Now, the interesting thing that is happening now is that the next generation of virtual worlds are coming out using modern virtual reality interfaces like Oculus Rift, hand controllers, full body controllers, and all that. Now, if you think of that, this is going to make virtual worlds not only much more immersive, because you really feel that you are there, but also much easier to use. The thing is that if you want to sit on a chair, you just sit on the chair. You don't have to remember Control, Alt, Option, something plus something else. If you want to look around, you just look around like that. If you want to advance, it's going to be easy. And many people think that virtual worlds are about to reach a critical usability, after which it becomes so appealing and so easy that everyone wants to come in. Remembering past experience of 10 years ago, I'm not saying that that's sure to happen. You never know. At the end is the people who will decide. But it is something that could happen. We have now High Fidelity, the new virtual world made by Second Life creator Phil Rosedale. There is a public beta since 1 year. And it's very nice and works very well. It supports all these VR things: hands, gloves, controllers, Oculus Rift, and all that. And in just a few weeks, we will have a virtual world called Sansar in public beta, which can be seen as the evolution of Second Life. So for those of you who think that Second Life is something old, yes, it is something old, but something like Second Life will become something new very soon and could become something big. I'm not saying it will become something big, but I'm sure it could become something big. Now, in that case, and you remember we have been discussing ideas like creating virtual worlds dedicated to offering a gathering place to space enthusiasts and to open space cooperative to the world. That could be a nice initiative that we could take, don't you think so?
Yes, definitely, because you have to connect to the people that are also the enthusiasts and the artists, the thinkers, and those people might not necessarily want to jump in and do the actual space mission work, but they may want to experience it and start to just be part of the actual community, because for creating space settlements, it is like you're creating new cities, and don't you want to know who it is that wants to live in these cities? So it's like you have to understand your population and how the best way to do that would be through an actual virtual simulation, right, where people are actually there, and it's not just some AI program that you've run to figure out how do people want to live there, but you can actually start virtual simulations of the settlements being built or lived in. So I think that that would be exciting for a lot of people too. Just to, if you can say, oh wow, well this is what Mars can be like, and then more people would very likely be inspired to want to experience the real thing, because we can only assume so many things about that and build that. But I think just like you watch a movie and it inspires you and you want to know more about that planet or that star, just like if you live in a virtual world, you would have this experience, but it still wouldn't be the real thing. So it would inspire more people to want to experience the real thing.
And that's exactly the reason why NASA started a few years ago a project very similar to what you just described, to build a full VR simulator. It was a moon base or something like that, to offer space-based edutainment to people, especially to the young, and to stimulate interest in space. Unfortunately, the project was aborted, and the same thing with the European Space Agency. They also had a similar project in the design phase, and that was aborted too, as far as I am aware. It would be cool if we could do that.
Yeah, I think it will happen. You mean taking over what they've already started with theirs, or just
taking over to what NASA was doing and doing it better?
Yeah,
that's exactly what you should do. We should.
Yes, I think so too. And I think it would be, having the open source mentality. So, obviously, if you're creating these virtual worlds, you want it to be easy for people to build on top of it. But it would be, great to do it in a realistic sense for what is being built there, obviously.
Okay.
I think you'll have the realism and then the fantasies.
Okay, let's save the most interesting things that you have to say for July 20, because I understand that you do have a lot of other interesting things to say. So thank you very much for being with me today. Is there one last point that you want to make?
One last point? I'm not sure. No, maybe not. I don't have a final point on my head, but just I'm very looking forward to speaking and connecting with people that I'm sure will be very aligned. So it's just very exciting.
Okay, let's stop this recording then, and see you on July 20. And I hope to see all you guys on July 20 in Second Life on the Terasem sim.